Personal financial planning. Let me start off with a quote with a famous person, Warren Buffett. So he is a richest man, and again he's a kind of a investment king. I mean, rather than running companies, he made money through investing in stocks at the appropriate time, and he became a richest man. And we have examples in India also. A person by name Rakesh Junjunwala. I hope I spell the name correctly. And these people, just via investing, making investment at appropriate time, they became rich. And these are common these days. I mean, the last I would say like last 10 to 20 years. Before that, it was not so very common to make money really. I mean, making money is fine, but really becoming rich through the stock market was very less about 20-25 years back. That is prior 1990s. Again, the quote here is from Warren Buffett is that if you buy things you do not need now, soon you will have to sell things you need. Again, you need to look at this perspective. Some point of time during your career, you might have good income. Maybe if you're in business or maybe as a salaried person, you might have good income, which is well and good. Particularly, let me take a person with salary and he's working in a corporate, be it in financial sector, IT sector, whatever it is. The prime age generally for the for the people who are in 25s and 30s, the prime age of getting good salary is generally from 25 to 30 or 35 years, and as you go up in the pyramid, the opportunities becomes less. The point is the pyramid in the sense as you go up, maybe as a developer you might require hundreds of developer and your responsibilities are less, and then you have good cash or good money you make. Because responsibility, you are alone, your responsibility, you have a huge amount of excess money. That is where you just can't spend it as you wish or as you want to buy. So that's where this point is. So if you really need it, then you buy it. But if you don't need it, or if you can go without it, then it's fine. If you keep buying without saving money, then probably there could be some issues where you don't have savings, then you have to sell things which you really need. But again, let's come to the point of need and want as well. So if you buy things you do not need, soon you have to sell things you need. So that is again, there's an explanation between need and want. We'll see that as well. So first you need to understand why this is required. Concept of financial planning. So financial planning aims in ensuring household individual adequate income to meet current and future expenses and needs. The current income that is received must also provide for a time when there is no or low income being generated. So one is that not just the expenses you meet currently, but in the future also you need that. So it is not just for the corporates which do the budgeting; it's also for an individual person to save substantial money for the future, not just for the current, but for the when you are in a situation in the future when there is no or low income being generated. This is a situation you face in this dynamic world, because those earlier days about 30-40 years back, yes, it was a different story. You enter into even any of the corporate company, you come out of the corporate company at 60 years and get retired. That's common, but these days it's not common. I mean, in the any sector, generally in any kind of a corporate sector, generally it's always on an average. I would say on an average, I would say out of five, three people keep switching jobs, or for some other reason they have to leave the job, or there is no income. This could be due to the reason of retirement. That is common. Retirement is common, but there could be other reasons as well. Layoffs, which is very common these days. Layoffs do happen. You have, if you log into LinkedIn last year, that is 2022 or 23, Lot of messages came. 2024 is sort of okay, but then you really can't predict what will happen in the future. That's where savings are important. Job or career change. Yes, at certain point of time, you need to switch your career itself rather than job. Yes, job change, yes, it's common. Yes, if you are working as a developer or a program manager, you can go from company X, you might go to company Y. That's the job change. Career itself, you can change. Earlier, you were doing something like a developer, and then you go into a totally altogether a different field of real estate marketing. This do happens. Or in my case, yes, I've been in the consulting field, and then I came and started my own online content creation and freelancing as well. So all this happens, and when you have a sufficient kitty or savings, it is much more easier to do this change. What suits you better as you progress with the age. Yes, certain career might not suit you, and even corporate might not be prefer. Majority of them would not. 90-95% of corporate will not prefer a developer to be in the age group of 40 plus. Definitely not. However, you are skillful, yes, as a freelancer it's possible, but yes, most of the corporate doesn't prefer. Yes, 45, 50 if you are a program manager, fine. And post that, yes, they don't even prefer a program manager unless you are lucky enough to move up the ladder, something like a CEO or CTO. Then it's fine. You can still be there till, or vice president. You can still be there till about your retirement. So so there is always a permutation, combinations, challenges are there. So that's where you have to aim your present, your current expenses and future expenses are taken care of. And when there is a low income, have sufficient savings which can through which you can tide over the crisis. So that's the concept of financial planning. And again, as I discussed, the needs and wants. Again, this is an interesting discussion always happen. Difference between needs and wants. If you ask people about 30 years back, yes, a telephone, even 30 years back, there would not be have been mobiles. Even that landline is just a want. Many people will not have landline at homes. That's asking. I'm talking about prior 1990s. That's a kind of a want, but they would not have. Similarly, a car, an automobile. They might not have four wheeler. They might not just a one. They might be happy with even bicycle or a two wheeler. But these days, all this fancy smartphone, mobiles, the age of 25 and 28, 29, you need a four wheeler. Even a person which is having a good education background, that has almost become a need. So if you look at it, even within your home, if you look at it, you'll have about 10 to 15 gadgets which has become a need these days. But if you go to 1990s, you will not find 10 to 15 gadgets. It's just hardly about one or two gadgets which is there. Take for example UPS. Now almost every household will have in India uninterrupted power supply system will be there. Earlier days it was not there. So it's almost becoming a need now. Earlier it was want. So the needs gets increasing. So that's where you need to maintain those standard. You need to from to time you need to change that also, because the life cycle of the product is about 5 to 10 years. Earlier, like cars or four wheeler were used for 20 years, 25 years, but these days it's hardly about 5 to 7, 10 years, the max. So you need to have sufficient money to invest in replenishing or replacing the automobile or four wheeler. So needs keeps increasing as we progress. I say even next generation, I mean 10 years from down the line, the needs would have definitely grown up compared to what is it is now. So that's where all the financial planning is required. But again, the good side advantages, unlike earlier days, these days you can plan. There are better avenues through which you can plan. Earlier days it was just savings, bank savings. I'm talking about prior 1990s. There are few people who would have invested in mutual funds. Yes, mutual fund itself, if you look at it, the history of mutual fund in India, it came in 1994 when the retail person can invest in mutual funds. Of course, equity, now that it is all online, anyone can invest in mutual fund far more easier than earlier days. So that if mutual fund and equity, there is higher risk, but returns are better. So you need to really find out which one is better. Yes, there are techniques in which you could choose the better mutual fund from time to time and better equity share from time to time, depending on various factors, depending upon the macroeconomics of the country, and then of course how the country is doing. There is technical analysis, then the functional analysis. As far as the equity is concerned, mutual funds, they have a different ratio altogether. We got to see that as well. Then other market link plan, particularly for insurance, pensions, it's all market link. Yes, NPS, National Pension Plan Scheme, which was introduced for Indian public in 2011. It's widely talked about. Uh, Again, for the it was started in 2009 for the public, and 2011 onwards, even the corporate can participate in national pension scheme. So we'll see that PPF, EPF is a kind of a, it is there for quite long. Probably the last two is there for quite long, but others like mutual funds, equity, other market link plans, national, it's all in the last I would say 20 to 30 years is what all these are available. So all this is supposed to provide better returns compared to PPF or EPF, which provides generally about 7 to max of 9%, whereas the others are supposed to provide somewhere about 12% and above is what is expected from all others, mutual fund, equities, NPS, and all. So you need to have a good understanding so that just like corporate, you can't depend really on uh, an expert. You have to do it on your own. So that's where the financial planning is required. Again, the scope of financial planning, we'll all see this. The first one is the cash management, the budgeting. How is your income outflow? How much is the savings, and how much you have budgeted? This is an ongoing process. Each year, or at least once in 6 months, keep a track of what is the income, what is the savings. Keep a track of it, and then comes, yes, whatever is a saving needs to be invested wisely so that it fetches the return. That is the second priority. And then comes the tax planning. There are tax avenues which gets you tax benefits. There is a scheme like something like exempt. When you invest, there is an exempt, like ATC as far as India is concerned. And then as you accumulate, there is also an exempt, like say for example NPS, it is exempt. FDs are taxable even during, if you accumulate, if you don't do it, that's taxable. And when you withdraw it also, that is exempt. In case of it happens in case of maybe PPF, EPF in certain cases, and even NPS. So tax planning, insurance planning, I would not say yes, you need to have, but the first three are important. That is where the focus needs to be. Retirement planning, yes. If you do these three, one, two, and three better, yes, the fifth one is automatically taken care of. The retirement planning is automatically, if you do well for 20, 30 years, even for 20 years, 1, 2, and 3, fifth is automatically taken off, because after 30 to 50 years after your work life is what you get into retirement. And if you have a sufficient corpus, yes, your retirement is taken care. So you can use the corpus to fund your retirement. And finally, debt management. Yes, as an individual, it's always better to avoid debt. It's okay, at least in the early stages of career, 20s and 30s, but beyond that, avoid that. 40s, you avoid getting into the debt trap, because you need to pay back. So this is scope of financial planning, but more importantly, this is what the topic one has to focus on. Let's look at the life cycle of investing. Is just probably for the investors, because generally, if you look at the investors, it starts from age of 20 or 25, something like that, and it goes to retirement. So this is the curve you see. It peaks between 35 to these days, yes, 35 to 45, 50, and then depending upon the career you have, then it will taper down. If you're in, for example, if you're in IT field, the peak is from 25 to 50. Now it has come down to 25 to 40, and beyond 40 in IT field. Yes, generally, if you are at a higher level, whether in the management, then yes, you can be in an IT career. Otherwise, yeah, with particularly in your, if you're in totally on a technical field, it's going to be highly difficult as you progress with your age, because with IT, it's always people with younger age, fresh minds could deliver much more. So you have an accumulation stage, and then you have a consolidation stage, which is also called the preparation stage, and then of course the retirement, or you have to spend more on whatever your capital you have saved. So accumulation stage is have a long period, long time until retirement, and you need to but if you look at the excess one, it might be very less as well at the early stage. Saving could be little difficult, but still you could be a bachelor. You could save some money. You need to invest on the long-term investment because people generally at this age, 25 to 30, they just don't think about retirement because it's a long time of 20, 25 years ahead of time, and they would not visualize that, and they don't go for a long time investment, and that is where people make a mistake, not looking at a long term investment. You need to look out for the long term investment. You can take high risk, and so that at the as you progress with the age, expenses is also bound to go up due to various factors, because of the family background, because of the country's inflation. So many things are there, so you need to plan for the savings as well. So keep this image in your mind always. And then coming into each of the description part of it, yes, the accumulation phase is the early stage. During this phase, the net worth is of course will be small. Whatever the income is, you tend to spend it across, or spend it, and savings will be very less, but it is always better you save some amount. Investment could be fewer. Maybe you can have fixed deposit, or maybe you invest some amount in maybe recurring deposits. Always better you take a path of the stock market through mutual funds as well. And at this stage, goals include your marriage, home, maybe your own education loan, or at times once you get into 30 plus, maybe for children's education also. So all this, your money will be eaten up by this, and investment is for retirement, which is long time ahead. So that's where people or folks don't tend to think about it, but it's always ensure that make an attempt to save at least 10 to 15%, at least 5% on a long term investment of 10 plus years. That will become handy, particularly not just retirement. And these days, the world is so dynamic, there is always a point of unexpected layoff or something which happens, so that you at least have 6 months of fund saved at this age, because at a younger age, it is always easier to find an alternative job rather than at an old age of older years of 40 plus. The next stage is the consolidation. In the consolidation phase, mid career, so 35 to 40, generally expense exceeds. I mean, income exceeds the expense. Income exceeds the expense. So typically, people tend to save much more in this phase. So consolidation of investment at this stage, the time horizon relatively still relatively long, retirement 10 to 15 years, may start looking at capital preservation. So capital meaning you invest something and you don't think about it at least for next few years, 5 years or 10 years, whatever invested as capital, it will gain over a period of time, and that is also called capital gains. High capital gains investment are balanced with some lower risk assets. So you need to identify, do your homework, need to find out which is a better returning one in the market, be it on shares or be it on mutual fund, because any day the returns on mutual funds shares are much better over a period of time. There could be a fall which is happening. Stock market is bound to fall at certain period of time, but then if you are looking for time period of 5 years and above, maybe ideally 10 years to 15 years, yes, even the if there is market fall, it will catch up. We have seen this. We have seen it in 2008, 10, 11, the market regained its whatever is lost, and similarly during COVID period, COVID, that is in 2020, there is a fall, and then 2021, it again rose up. So this phase, you ensure that there is a appreciation in capital. You invest for a long time, and finally, yes, this is a generally. I mean, it is not always will happen, but on an average, I will say this spending phase is defined as a period when living expenses not covered, because you will still earn income, but then it will not be sufficient for your living expense. So that's where you need to maybe look out, you have sufficient returns from the investment so that it takes over and you are able to maintain the life standard, whatever life standard you are living, you are able to maintain that. So that's the retirement phase 55 plus. Yes, it varies from individual to individual. It could be 60, 65 plus. But generally, I would say the point to take in mind is that income might not be sufficient to your living expense. So that's where you need to fall back on whatever the capital invested, the gains, capital gains you get, that should fund your portion of your expenses. Because the delay in reliance on investment in this phase and unlikelihood of going back to work, and focus on stability in investment portfolio. Preference could be not only to generate dividend, it's in stock market, dividends are provided, interest, rental income, of course the capital appreciation if it is stocks or it is in mutual funds. So the reason is we don't know when the life is going to end. This could be probably, you can say, another 15, 20, 25 years. You need to sustain because the income could be, earnings could be lower, but the earnings would be from whatever the investment you have made prior, in phase one or phase two. So that gives you an idea as where to focus on. You need to focus on from your basically right from the day you start earning, but you need to save on the capital through, save the capital and invest on a long time, particularly as you reach 30s, 30s to 45s or 50 is what you need to save a lot of money, so that as you approach the retirement age you are much more comfortable. So that's the life cycle of investment. Thank you.